Realm Painters. So in today's video, we'll be painting the Sisters Paragon Warsuit, since you guys have requested that a while back. And I thought it would be a pretty good challenge, so we'll see if I can attempt to make this tutorial somewhat simple. But as always, comment down below if there's any other tutorials you would like us to make, and other than that, let's not dilly-dally and let's get to painting. Before we start painting, go ahead and prime it in black. I usually use Chaos Black Citadel Primer, however this time around we only had the Pro Acryl Black Primer, which works as well if you have an airbrush lying around. Once primed, I like to start off with the armor itself since that's 90% of the model, and with that I go and wash all the panels in watered down Abaddon Black. You may wonder why I paint over all of the black if I already primed it with the right color. However, I'm going to be doing a lot of edge highlighting later on, so if I do make any mistakes, I have that specific black that'll easily go over anything without you noticing the different paint textures, since the primer dries a different hue and sheen compared to the paint in the pot. Once you got all of the armor washed, we can go into the fun part and start highlighting. Before we do edge highlighting, I like to do some panel highlighting with Incubi Darkness. These areas I like to add will be on the top sections of most, if not all, of the armor panels. Here's how it looks before I create a gradient between the black and Incubi. Now I'll go ahead and mix both Incubi and Abaddon with water to begin smoothing out the gradient. If need be, go back between the two colors to get your desired gradient. And this is how it should look in the end. Next up, now that we got the easy part of the highlighting done, let's do the edge highlighting. We'll be painting this with Fenrisian Gray, and basically I go over every single panel and edge that I can find and paint it. What I say is too much, I'm not sure. I just enjoy highlighting, so do however much you want before you get sick and tired of doing it. And here's your completed highlighted armor. We'll continue on with Leadbelcher to paint the trim all around the armor. This will include the panels on the legs, chest, arms, her back, her pauldrons, and the grill above her head. There may be some things that will need painted silver later on, but I like to go by sections of the model, not by color. Now that we got all the silver down, let's go ahead and lightly wash it with Nuln Oil. Once it's all dry, use Runefang Steel to highlight all the edges. Now we'll continue on painting the different sections, starting with her cloak by base coating it in Mephiston Red. For me, it took about 3 or so coats to get full coverage. Once you got the base coat down, go ahead with Corn Red to paint the lower folds of the fabric to get your dark tone. Then with Evil Sun Scarlet, highlight the upper folds. If you'd like, use some Mephiston Red to bring back the mid-tone between the shadow and highlighted area to smooth them out a bit. Once you got the main part of the fabric completed, let's continue onto the back section by using some Agrax Earthshade to outline the trim of the fabric. I personally like to do this because it helps separate the trim from the fabric and gives it a little extra detail. Now once that's all dry, continue onto the trim itself by base coating it in Fenrisian Grey. Then with some white, I like to highlight sections of the trim, kind of like how you see on the box art. After you got the base highlights down, just go back and forth between the two colors to get a smooth gradient. Now onto her hips, I'll begin with her leather pouches with base coating all of them in Rhinox hide. Then with Dunbull Brown, highlight all the edges of the pouches. And if you'd like, make some scratches on the leather like on the big pouch by painting diagonal lines across. Once the pouches are done, we'll paint the skulls on our buckle and on our pouch with Retributor Gold. Then wash the gold with Rakelin Flesh Shade. While that dries, get some lead belcher and paint the gun grip on the leather pouches and the pouch clasps. I also went ahead and painted the clasps that are attached to her skirt to the armor as well. Now the Rakelin should be dry to add some Liberator Gold highlights onto the gold skulls in the front. Then we'll move up to her chest area by painting the rosary with Fenrisian Grey. Then with some white, spot highlight each bead. Now onto the emblem, base coated in Retributor Gold. Then, like the gold recipe earlier on, give it a wash of Rakelin and a highlight of Liberator Gold. We'll also be using the same gold recipe on this cover on our back, and the bottom section is done. Now onto her arms, we'll start by highlighting both her knuckles, tube connectors, and bar on both hand controls with Fenrisian Grey. Once that's quickly put down, we'll continue on by painting the rest of her controls and metal bars in lead belcher. Then wash all the lead belcher in Nuln Oil. Lastly, once it's all dry, edge highlight the silver with Runefang Steel. Next up, let's paint the leather straps with a base coat of Rhinox. Then edge highlight them in Dunbull. We'll continue on with base coating the tubes with corn red. Then let's make a gradient by painting Mephiston red in about 70% of the tube in the middle, and make sure to smooth out that gradient. Then, if you'd like to, add a smaller highlight in the middle with Evil Sun Scarlet. And her small arms are done! We'll continue onto the mechanical arms by starting with the bolter, which you might guess base coat the whole gun in lead belcher as well as the box on the back of her shoulder. While we have the lead belcher out, go and dry brush the outside tube as well. Now cover all of that silver in Nuln Oil. Once it's fully dry, I like to add a second coat of Nuln Oil on the outermost plate of the bolter and the container on her shoulder. Once fully dry, use Runefang to edge highlight the gun in the shoulder box. Next up, we'll paint the bullets in Fleur de Lis on the gun in Hashik Copper. I forgot to paint the skull under the bullets, so do this recipe on it as well. Then wash it all in Reikland Flesh Shade. Lastly, highlight with Liberator Gold. If you need to, paint the middle section of the bullet back in Abaddon. Now the gun is almost done. All we need to do is the Hazard Stripe tube, which will start off with Averland Sunset. Then with Uriel Yellow, highlight the middle area. Lastly, with a small brush in Abaddon Black, start adding the diagonal stripes. If need be, just go back with yellow to fix any mistakes. Also, quick tip, make sure the stripes are going the correct direction on both sides. You may notice that I painted them in the wrong direction on the inner facing side, but honestly, I'm too lazy to fix it. Other than that, the gun is done. Now let's continue on to her other arm, starting with the silver. First off, paint the blade with a regular brush before you dry brush the arm tubing. Then with Nuln Oil, wash the center indent in the sword. Lastly, edge highlight the blade with Runefang Steel. Optionally, you can add some frost heart to the power sword for a bit of glow. Next up, let's paint the handle by base coating it in corn red. Then with Mephiston red, highlight the upper areas. Lastly, with the sword, base coat the butt of the sword in handguard with Retributor gold, followed by a wash of Frakelin and highlight of Liberator gold, like our early gold recipes. Now all we got left is his top accessories and her face. We'll get the top accessories out of the way, starting with her pauldrons by base coating the fleur-de-lis and wing icon with Fenrisian Grey. Then highlight the upper details in white. Now onto the parchment on the pauldron, base coated in Wraithbone. This may take a couple coats. Once you get full coverage, let's use some very watered down Agrax and add it to the folds on the sides of the parchment and lightly in the middle of the parchment. You can continue on by writing a name or a word, but I'll just forego it for now. Next up, let's finish up the armor by painting Leadbelcher onto the missiles next to her shoulders and the bars holding the headpiece. Then add some Runefang steel on the tips of the missiles. Then we'll use the same gold recipe we've been using on the arches and headpiece. And now all that's left is the face. We'll start by base coating her face in Dunable Brown. Then with a mix of Cadian and Dunable, start building up the highlights. With the first coat of highlight, do about half and half Cadian and Dunable. After the first highlight, make a lighter mix with Cadian and Kislev and start painting the sections where light would hit the most, which would be about the cheekbones, nose, and brows. I basically go back and forth with highlighting and shading until I like how it looks. Then onto the eyes, go and add in the whites with Wraithbone. Then go with dried bark and create the eyelash outline on the eyes. If you'd like to add an iris, just use any color you want. I use Techless and use a small brush. If you made any mistakes, just use more Wraithbone to tidy up. And now we're onto the hair. All I do is base coat it in Fenrisian Gray. Then with white, start adding in strands of highlights, making sure the Fenrisian does peek through to keep some shading in the hair. I do about 2 layers of white. And your Paragon is done! And just like that, your Paragon warsuit is complete. And I hope you like the way I painted the armor panels. I know this version is a bit of a pain to paint, however, I just think the process of the highlighting and just like the overall look at the end, I think it's really worth it, even though it can be a little bit of a hassle. But if you have any more requests for sisters models or any other models, just let us know in the comments. And also while you're down there, please like and subscribe. And other than that, we'll see you in another realm.